Happy Friday, everybody. Today is Friday, December 17th,
Wait,
2025.
it's Wednesday, definitely.
Today's not Friday. Today's Wednesday. Welcome back to Recoup. Today is Wednesday, December 17th, 2025. I'm Sweets. This is Sid, and I don't know what day it is.
I'm freaking out for a second too. I was like, wait, what's going on?
I totally thought today was Friday. This is not an hour-long call. This is a quick 15-minute check-in. So we're not going to start off how we always do with in one word and in one sentence. I don't know
Does it
why I thought
does it
today was
feel like
Friday.
does it feel like Friday though?
I guess it feels like a Friday to me. I was all ready to go through our whole hour-long call. I got my tea. I don't know what happened there. Do you want to start? Do you know where you want to go? Otherwise, I'll talk about what I've been doing.
No, go ahead. Go ahead and start. You've been shipping a lot.
Okay, so my main goals for this week were API keys, and then email client, as well as SMS client. So sharing the status of those, the API keys are live. If you start from the docs for chat have been updated on both Stream. You can see there's no more ability to pass in an account ID here. You now pass in an API key, and we give you instructions on how to get there, as well as for generate. No more mention of account ID in here. You pass in an API key for us to know who you are. So starting with that, we then updated it on the front end. So now if you're talking to chat.recoupable, we're using your authentication that you do when you sign in with email from our solution, which is Privy. We get an access token from the client, pass that back, and we use that as a temporary API key. Or if you're using us at the API level, if you're building on top of Recoup, you can go to your keys tab. And so this has been live. The big change was that we wanted this to be supported for our organizations. So you'll notice right now I'm in the MICO WTF organization. And so these are API keys for my organization. If I am in my personal account, it'll switch my API keys, and these are API keys in my personal account. And so now there's whatever organization I'm in. This organization does not have any API keys, so there's none here. If I create one for Hello World org key, creates the key. I only get to see it right here after I confirm. Anybody in my org can see that this key exists. Anybody in my org can delete this key, but the only person that was able to see that key was me when I created the key. If I refresh the page, the key's still here. So org keys are now live. If I delete this, the key deletes. So that shows all the methods of create, read, up. There's no update, create, read, and delete on API keys at the org level. On the email side, so that's where org keys are at. Pausing. Any questions or thoughts on org keys and API keys in the chat being moved to use API keys instead of account ID?
Nope.
Cool. Next up is the email client. So we now are receiving inbound emails, and we are replying to those emails. Let me find, here's the thread that I've been using. Right now we're using Restream or Resend's default email. So if you send to this domain, compose a new email to whatever you want at this random resend domain. Hello world. Right now it's not considering what I pass in, so I'm just going to throw in whatever. I send the email. I continue. I'm at a record label. I continue doing my other emails, yada, yada, yada. And then it's usually less than a minute later. It depends on what your prompt is. Something short, hello, Recoup doesn't think very long. But once it finishes thinking, we'll then get a response in here. Now this is using resend for the client. It is also not hitting our front end to do the generate call. So I've also moved, I haven't moved. I've copied the generate. We already got our response. I copied the generate call over to the API. So this is the big monolithic API endpoint of API/chat and API/chat/generate. I've moved API chat generate over. And so my goal now is to update anywhere that's referencing API chat generate and give those over to the API. And then the last big one is going to be API chat. And so you can see here, hard-coded is up top. Thanks for your email. That's hard-coded. Account ID is hard-coded. This was just me verifying if an email comes in, we can convert that email address into account ID. And then the account ID is what we use. So that way we get the context of the system prompt. It knew my name. And then it was able to then reply with a basic, right now we've hard coded into it hello world. So it's just replying to hello world every time, but it is using our AI behind the scenes. My next step is get this to each email thread should be a conversation. That way, when it replies, it knows every previous email in the conversation thread in my email thread. In each different thread, I can have different conversations going with Recoup, and it remembers those previous messages. And after that, emails, I think, is going to be close to done. So after I get that done, hopefully today, I would like you and I, whenever we want to talk to Recoup, try doing it in email instead of going over to Recoup chat, either on your phone or wherever you use your email on your desktop, and just see how it feels to talk to Recoup over here, what tools that are important are missing, what context is missing, how do we want to clean it up? That way, top of the week next week or at the top of the year, depending on how we want to do our enterprise communication, we can tell everybody, hey, Recoup is live. It can now send you emails. And we can also then make this a top of funnel for on a daily basis. If we know when employees are getting into the office, have an email waiting for them and kind of anticipate their move and have things in their inbox to start conversations. And then if they want to continue it, all that they need to do is reply and keep the chat going where they're already spending all their time. That is everything I've done. Any feedback or questions on the email integration before we jump over to you?
This is awesome. The initial questions I had are just based on user, like of like just not edge cases, it's not necessarily, but like user journeys of what happens if then. So for example, if user if user gets a chat, if user gets an email from Recoup about an artist report,
Yep.
and user CCs other team members on that report, and then other team members reply back to the full thread CC and say, thanks, awesome report, and like also CC Recoup in that CC. Then does the Recoup create like what happened, the tree of what happens if then? So if that user replies, does Recoup start a thread for that user in their account, or is the thread continued on the user's report, email report? What if happens if that user isn't a Recoup user and doesn't have an account? Can they reply back, and does Recoup respond to them? Like, I'm just starting to think through all of the use cases of if-thens, which isn't necessarily something that we need to consider immediately unless you want to. I'm debating on whether it's in your best interest to consider all of those and like work through them this week or as you build this out, or move to SMS or something else and let that play out as users use it. The thing is, go ahead.
My personal thought is let's get email right. Let's not release this as a half-baked thing. It would be nice to get to SMS, but ideally I'm at least spending the whole week on email and cleaning up those edge cases of if Recoup's in a CC, do we want Recoup to reply? And all those, I think all of those considerations you're saying are important for this to feel like a complete feature, that way customers aren't using us and saying, this feels like a half-baked product. There's a lot of kinks. I would rather, this is a feature we've prioritized for the entire quarter. Let's make sure that it's done right. That way we can really assess its performance at the end of this year going into next year.
And also, once you have the architecture right of this, it's going to be easier to get SMS right. It's going to be easier to get Slack right, because you're going to have already considered group messages and other messengers who's not, like getting the architecture of this right kind of translates. So I agree. I agree.
That's one thing that I've currently baked in is right now, if someone does not have an account, it will just fail. So if we try looking them up and they don't have an account based off of their email, it will fail. We will likely want to just invisibly create an account for them behind the scenes. But I just wanted to let you know right now that is an edge case. So if someone gets excited about a Recoup email, they forward it to someone that's never visited our website, and then they send us an email, it likely won't respond. So if that's an important thing, we should test out those edge cases and how do we want it to respond? Do we want it to do an onboarding flow? Do we just have it reply? There's going to be a lot.
There's a lot of if-thens. There's a lot of different scenarios. Yeah. Is the person in an org that this is coming from? Did that person sign up for the Recoup chat in the org? So do they have an account or not? Do we want to give somebody that's not in the org, who doesn't have an account, and a free account? Do we want to put them in the org? Like all of those, I mean, I probably wouldn't be in the org, but like, yeah, I think thinking through, you're right, getting the architecture right of this, making this feel like an awesome, I love what you said of like, this is the start of putting stuff in people's inboxes and letting them experience the product outside of a platform. And if we can get that right, like Pokey is the first product that did it for me for SMS. Right. And so now I use Pokey. When I think of SMS agent, I think of Pokey.
Do you still get the Bordy emails?
Bordy is not. Bordy moved to WhatsApp.
Wait, did you hear that?
Yeah, it's all good. Bordy is now in WhatsApp. Is their main messenger instead. And I'm not crazy about the experience stuff. I have to remember to check my WhatsApp in order to remember that Bordy exists. So this is, I think, the ideal scenario. If we can get this right, we can send people emails, proactive emails about their artists, their campaigns, etc., to their email. And if we can get them to habitually understand that they can reply to get more information or kick things off, it's going to be the first experience for them outside of like an agent outside of a platform. And if we can
need to know that it's a human or not, like for them, it's, oh, this is a helpful person that is now in my life and I have access to them, and whether it's a human or not a human.
That is another thing I wanted to talk to you about, which is we currently have hi@Recoupable, which feels like a marketing email. And I'm wondering if we should personify Recoupable more so that like Bordy, or like Bordy doesn't sound like it's a marketing email. It sounds like it's, I mean, it's like it sounds like a character or a person. So like, I'm wondering if we should start to personify the tool in itself to make it feel less like you would actually reply to it, because it's either it doesn't feel like a marketing hi email,
Great. I have a follow-up question. We need a domain to use for the in and outbound email. We can't use hi@recoupable.com, and we can't use @recoupable.com because you were using recoupable.com and other mail systems. And when I tried to change the MX domain before, you said, hey, my email's not working, I'm not getting stuff. And so we can't touch the recoupable.com domain. My initial thought is use mail.recoupable.com. So add a subdomain. Is mail.recoupable.com, or what would you prefer as the subdomain or domain that we use for in and outbound emails?
I'm fine with mail@recoupable.com.
Mail.recoupable.com.
I'm fine with that if that's the only use case for it. But if you're going to eventually need a subdomain, I guess we can, like, it depends on SMS. Are you going to need a similar architecture where you're not going to be able to use it'll be email.
That'll be a phone number instead of email. So we don't have any conflicting records right now for phone numbers.
What about for any social situations? Is it going to be through handle or through email?
I don't know if I understand. Can you tell me more about the case you're thinking through?
No, I think mail.recoupable as a subdomain.
And then you can put whatever you want before that. If you want it to be recoup@mail.recoupable.com, if you have a different personified name that you want, any domain will work from both inbound and outbound. So we can have multiple different domains for different departments. However you want to do that, x@mail.recoupable.com. Anything that gets sent to anything at mail.recoupable.com will come into our automated agent system, and we can route it based off of, did they send it to Alex versus Recoup versus Sydney, and have the response and the context get mapped. Or we keep it simple and just say, no matter what, treat it as the same, and then it'll go out via the same. But we're aligned on mail.recoupable.com. I think I'm good on my side. What else do you have other questions or thoughts right now that you wanted to talk about on email or anything else for our current build?
No, I think we're good. For my current build, I just, you already know, I updated you approved the merge. So I updated so that we can now get tasks in, or change the model.
Custom models. Have you found any impact in that? Have you seen any improvement or degradations?
So there's another issue that I'm running into on the tasks, which the prompt that I'm using or that I was using, not the one I sent you, but the one before that, with the actual use case of the customer. It's like this very long agent run of go to this Google spreadsheet, read these 50 rows, go to those 50 rows websites, extract any RSS data or any new PR news from those websites, and then send an email saying today's news is this from those 50 websites. So it's a very long run. It works sometimes in chat. I haven't gotten it to work in tasks. It doesn't fail, but it says that like it'll just say like there's nothing found today. And so I don't know if it's I'm trying to diagnose the bug, and sometimes the bug is like it can't find anything. Other times the bug is that the context window is too long for this model, but it doesn't make sense because it works in chat but not in tasks. So like I'm trying to figure out where to focus the debug on to get it right.
So the task still is not performing at the same level as chat.
Correct.
Mm.
It's failing and in trigger, it's the fail point is at 50 seconds, 60 seconds, and it says the context window is too long for this model. But I'm using Opus 4.5 and it should work.
It should work. Okay. Interesting. We got one problem down. It's using you see in the logs that it is using the model that you expect.
I know I'm sending the model. I know in the logs on trigger.dev I'm sending the correct model. I don't know where else to check besides trigger.dev.
I'm wondering what differences we might have between the stream endpoint and the generate endpoint. I'm wondering if there's any differences that might be causing the difference in performance that you're seeing. It might be worth asking your LLM what differences are there between /API/chat and /API/chat/generate that might be causing my task to perform differently based off of whether I send the same prompt to each of these endpoints.
Is the trigger.dev using the API you set up?
It's still using the front end chat. I want to move it to the back end API, but it's still using the front end chat, but it is using the generate endpoint, not the stream endpoint. The front end chat is using stream. Your trigger tasks are using generate.
And generate is what? Not when you say stream, isn't generate the stream one?
No.
It's chat. What is the difference?
/API/ I'll share the doc.
Yeah. I thought generate was stream.
The front end chat, when you're talking and you're saying it's performing well, it's using the stream API /API/chat. All of your tasks in trigger.dev are using generate API chat generate.
Oh, which is not streaming.
Correct. It's not streaming. It waits till it finishes and sends it. So they're two totally different API endpoints with different code. I tried to dry the code as much as possible, but that's what I'm saying is there might be differences, and those differences might be causing your difference in performance.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. All right, I'll start there. That's the main thing. All right, cool. I'm excited. Let's get email knocked the fuck out.
We will be back on Be Real Friday to talk